flap. 33 News has a crew headed to Cold, Brayton's hometown, and we'll bring you the latest on Brayton's final goodbye this afternoon on the News Watch. With the warmer weather we're having and Memorial Day weekend just around the corner, police are stepping up patrols. According to Fort Wayne Police, nearly 100 shots were fired in Memorial Park over the past weekend, and police say that it's not the first time they've had this kind of problem. They've been looking at crime in parks and also neighborhoods where people congregate. Police say they're supportive of the area crime watchers in the community who are their eyes and ears when the squad cars aren't around. And to show their support for the neighborhood crime programs, they're giving it a big boost. GTE and Fort Wayne Police are equipping neighborhoods with 8 cellular phones. The phones will go to the areas with crime problems. They'll replace the CB patrols that they currently use, and police say will improve both speed and accuracy of communication. It's a pilot program that runs through Labor Day. If it's successful, GTE has pledged to step up its donations and possibly equip Fort Wayne neighborhoods with the cell phones. And it looks like the number of people visiting hospital emergency rooms is dropping in the Hoosier State. That's thanks to a program aimed at helping assign family doctors to Medicaid patients. A recent study shows that the number of emergency room visits fell to 28% in the first 8 counties that switched to the state's Medicaid managed care program. Well, that's the latest for now. We'll be back at noon with a full report. Have a good Wednesday.
The Health Food Shop invites you to experience real quality and nutrition. You owe it to yourself to visit the Health Food Shop and see the area's largest and finest selection of natural groceries, supplements, and body care products. Our organic and commercial produce is fresh and beautiful and sure to please your family. We have low sodium, fat-free, high fiber, high nutrition, non-allergenic, and other foods to meet individual dietary requirements. The Health Food Shop, 15 North Anthony in Fort Wayne, has foods of the future with natural old-fashioned goodness. The Health Food Shop.
The best you can get for over 80 years.
Poinsett Chrysler Plymouth BMW celebrates 80 years of service to you with a price on Chrysler Cirrus, only $269 a month. Or how about a new Voyager minivan, 80th anniversary price to just $269 a month. Poinsett says happy anniversary with a low price on Neon Coupes, a low $169 a month. Remember,
Poinsett, the best deals on the best cars for over 80 years.
Turn on the heat. 5 times a week.
Weekdays at 3 on NBC 33. You're watching NBC 33, Fort Wayne.
Imagine your child going through school and never talking. Not talking. Teacher says, what's the answer? Some look down. Some won't take their foot off. Catherine and Ed Kellard need no lectures about this. This has to be an arrow in the heart. What beautiful children you have. Sound of mind and everything else. Isn't that right, Mom?
Absolutely. Very active, very energetic.
Nothing.
Very lively.
And emotionally okay in every respect, can't we say?
Absolutely.
Normal.
Very normal.
When did this, how old were we? Amanda is the older of your 2 children.
Yes, she's 7.5.
And she's here with her son, with her brother, Sean. And they both have, please don't call this SM, selective mutism.
Yes. We first realized that when she was 3, when she started preschool. And she didn't speak a word to the teachers or the other students. She didn't associate with them.
You saw no evidence of this at home?
Absolutely not. I did daycare, and I always had children in my house. Amanda was the leader of the pack. She would instruct the children how to play, what to do. She was like the leader. Very energetic.
And you notified Dad about this?
Yeah.
And how'd he respond?
It never bothered me because for some reason I knew her attitude, how she acts towards people.
She doesn't have that illness?
No.
She's not about the nothing, huh?
No.
She's not hallucinating? She's not doing any crazy stuff? This is a normal kid? She loves her daddy, she hugs her daddy, all that?
As far as I was concerned, yeah.
Yeah. Should we understand that you have a little graver overview now of this particular situation? This can penalize a child, certainly for the wrong reasons, but it can.
It penalizes the child by certain people, putting them in certain categories.
And they did that, did they, Kat?
They definitely labeled her. she was known as a little girl who wouldn't speak, and that might have made the situation even worse.
And we had a school that we had a teacher that actually put my wife in tears, where she was actually saying my daughter was retarded, and that got me angry.
There's
Really,
yeah. There's even a worse. There's a worse kind of accusation. Something's happening to the child at home that's causing it.
true.
Have you? I mean, people have danced around that, have
Right. They made me jump through hoops. They had me go to a child psychologist. They had one come into the school. They had us go to family counseling. There must be something wrong with the child. There must be something wrong at home. And all the while, he kept saying, leave her alone. She'll be fine. She'll grow out of it. But I felt it was my child. I had to do something to help my child. And I felt like leaving her alone, maybe I'd be doing more damage. But perhaps by bringing it out and harping on it all the time, maybe it made it worse.
We have videotape that this is of Amanda.
Right.
Let's show this, Brian. Amanda, a very happy and normal child. Happy birthday to Sean. Yeah, that looks like me bowling. All right. Point is what, Mom? Normal, normal, normal.
Absolutely.
But she won't speak in school.
She didn't speak in school. 2 years of preschool and the first year of kindergarten. They even thought about leaving her back in kindergarten because she wouldn't speak, though she knew all the required material for kindergarten.
What do you know about this? Incidentally, let's not be abusive here. And I'm going to walk on eggs here. But we're glad Amanda's here, and we're glad that Sean's here. Hi, Amanda. So if I know her a little, I'll bet she'll say hi to me after the show.
She might.
So this isn't absolute.
When they become comfortable or secure, then they'll speak.
Are you okay now with this? You must have, this had to be awful, emotionally speaking.
It was killing me. I didn't know what was wrong with my child. I didn't know if she'd be going through the rest of her life like this. And I knew she was bright and she was intelligent and she was energetic. And I wanted, like every mother, I wanted the best for my child. And I wanted her to be considered normal. There was nothing wrong with her. There was nothing wrong with our family. We had a very loving relationship. We have a loving relationship with our children. And I knew that she would be okay.
And you better have an understanding teacher, too, huh?
Or her kindergarten teacher wasn't. The school system wasn't. I had to fight with the school system. In the kindergarten, they have parents come in as helpers, and I was coming in once a week to help out in the classroom for an hour or two. And I thought that was good to let the child know that I was involved. But being she wouldn't speak, they kept me out of the classroom. They told me not to come anymore right after Thanksgiving. And to tell the child that we just need to have other mothers come in. So after a few weeks, Amanda kept saying, why don't you come in? Why don't you come in? She says, Matthew has a stepmother, and he's always in. I wish I had a stepmother, so she would always come in, too. And that killed me.
Sure.
It broke my heart. And I had to fight with the school to let me back in there. I was always in touch with Susan. I spoke to her about once a month. And she said, get back in that classroom. And I had to fight with the administration to let me in.
I tell you what, I can see a teacher. You speak or you're going to stay after school. I mean, I can see I could see this interpreted as a smart aleck kid. Do they?
His situation, when he was into school, he had it too.
You did?
Sure.
Didn't speak?
Not at all. Until today, people still have problems getting things out of me. And I'm in my own business. You know, it's...
Is this hereditary, Dad?
Do
you know? If you don't know...
No.
You don't think it is?
I'm not sure. No.
Carolyn Miller is here. Twins. Jennifer and Jessica.
Jennifer and Jessica. They're 12 now. They've made a lot of progress over the years.
Let me just, before we leave the Collards, your baby, your young daughter, Amanda, she's speaking?
Yes. Miraculously.
Not as, it's still a struggle, isn't it?
Not as much as it was. She's speaking in school. She's doing wonderfully.
We'll be back to ask you how. Jennifer and Jessica, you saw this, not unlike Catherine did when they were in preschool?
When they were 4 and they went to preschool, a week and then a month the teacher would call us and say that the girls weren't talking. And I was just devastated because they talked completely normal at home, normal voice, but they didn't say a word at school.
You use fade-in therapy.
Behavior modification that we used when it went into the school system and did very short sessions a couple of times a week where we actually went into the classroom environment and did the therapy there.
How do you do this? What is it? What's involved?
We took a chart and cut pictures out of a magazine and then asked questions, verbal questions and nonverbal questions. The girls got a penny for that. And at the end of the week, they got to add their pennies up and trade those for a reward. And the reward might be, say, 15 pennies would be lunch at McDonald's, or 20 might be a small gift or an hour at the mom. But we set some short-term goals for them that they had to achieve. And it took probably a month in order for them to say that first word. But the more that they did the therapy, the more comfortable they felt in doing it, and they were able to talk more.
You wondered if this was about being twins.
In the beginning, I thought that it was. Very much so.
And you put an ad in a twins magazine.
Right. And then that was when I heard from the first mom that I had heard from had twins, and then Sue was the second mom that had written to me.
And so at 12, what grade are you in when you're 12?
6th.
You're in the 6th. You're in the 6th. Are we improving?
Yes, they've made lots of improvement. They went from not speaking at all in preschool and kindergarten and first grade to now they feel real comfortable in school. Mostly they just consider them shy at this point.
Here are some videos of your own beautiful daughters. This is home. Don't forget, this is at home.
A car.
You know?
I have the car. There are cars. Billy and Barbara, look at this one.
Mary, this is Merry Christmas, I assume.
Exactly. This is the way they are at home all the time.
This is the way they are at home. Imagine this. You got to videotape your kids to prove to the teachers that your kids are normal. And where were we before videotape? And imagine what the eggheads might have speculated about the cause of this. Child abuse. Something wrong with their head. These are perfectly normal children.
Exactly.
How many responses did you get when you put the ad in the twin magazine?
Only about 20 in the beginning.
And then you went on television, did you? And how much did you get for that?
Probably about 450 letters within about a week. And then they ran a rerun, and within 2 months, I had probably 800 or 900 letters from parents all across the United States and from other countries as well that have kids with this.
Right. So, and those letters probably said, oh my God, I thought I was alone.
Exactly. And it was like reading about my own children, the way they described them.
Sue Lachek. Miss Lachek. Twins again. Adina and Randy.
Right.
In the audience. Two more good-looking.
They'll be 15 years old soon.
All but one in our front row is female. Is that germane? Is that indicative?
No.
So both genders.
Absolutely.
Without bias.
Absolutely.
Your alarm went off before preschool, I assume?
At around 2, 3 years old. Yeah, and they were actually diagnosed with it at 4 years old. But also very similar situation as the other parents here. I was notified by teachers that there was absolutely no speech by either one in school at all, yet they spoke at home.
Did the teacher say anything?
Yeah, there was, I felt as if I was being either pretty much indirectly accused of something.
Sure.
You know, I was never told exactly what,
Right.
but that was the sense, I would say, and I think that happens with most families as well.
Yeah. Carolyn, Ms. Miller told us that it was really hard for her not to answer for her daughter.
In the beginning, you feel so overwhelmed and you feel so embarrassed in the beginning that it's real hard not to answer for them, especially if it's someone that you don't know and you try to explain within a short period of time what their experience.
I had the same thing too. Yeah, I would do that. I think it's probably a bit more difficult when you have twins, or not necessarily twins, but more than one child who has this problem. It's a lot more obvious to outsiders.
I started, you told us, seeing beneficial changes in the girls when we started our foundation.
Yes.
And got some real research done and began understanding what was going on.
Right. I would say basically what we have found out, or my feeling now, is that it does seem to be inherited. It seems to be a combination of severe anxiety, shyness, and social phobia. And one of the things that I had used with Adina was medication.
Prozac.
She took Prozac for 3 years, and just to give you a brief idea, she said absolutely nothing in school for the first 5 years, not a word. After the Prozac kicked in, and this is also along with the behavioral program, she was up on stage in school, a finalist in the school spelling bee.
You must
After
have been
5 years of nothing. Oh.
You must have been, first time.
Yes.
I can't get over how informed the teacher has to be, or we're talking some real unintentioned brutality here. I mean, teachers will get mad. Teachers see this as a defiant, sort of conscious, and you're here to say, no.
Right, not at all. I think most teachers, not most, but many teachers and other professionals from some of the old literature that they've read see it as controlling, manipulative. They think that these children are angry. Some people think that they may be deaf or speak a foreign language. You name it.
You are Tom Cradwell, Ph.D. Dr. Cradwell, sir, University of Wisconsin Department of Education. You were going to say?
This is a rare disorder in children. Mental health professionals have known about it for many, many years, but they generally are not as well educated about it as some other childhood disorders. Increasingly, information has gotten out there through the foundation, through professional publications, to educate mental health professionals and the public about this disorder.
I want you to
very rare.
And throughout our program, you'll be making the case for understanding, knowledge, information.
Yes.
But give me just before we break here, you told us about if the mother and the child are in the kitchen talking, this is another gradual kind of therapy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us about how that works.
First of all, I think it's important to know that this disorder is called selective mutism. It used to be called elective mutism years ago. And the assumption was that children elected not to talk. In fact, I think what we know about these children now is they do not feel comfortable talking. They may experience anxiety or severe fear over talking, or talk in situations in a very uncomfortable way. So that's an important thing to know. Increasingly, we believe that this disorder is like a social phobic disorder, which means that these children are, in fact, afraid to speak. So that's an important thing to recognize. And I think to understand these children, we need to understand the nature of the phobic disorder.
Okay. Can we have you just describe before we break the nature of this one exercise that you do? You have, the child is in the kitchen with the mother. You have the teacher in the house, but the teacher's in the living room. You told us about this.
Okay. There's a number of therapies.
I know. I'm just asking you. This is just to get you to give us an example. So these.
Well, an example of a therapy that might be used with a child experiencing this problem would be what is called a stimulus fading therapy or a fade-in therapy. Right. A parent, for example, might feel very comfortable talking with their child at home, and then unfamiliar adults with whom the child usually does not talk are brought into that situation in a very gradual fashion. The child continues to talk as people are gradually faded into the situation. Increasingly, the child becomes comfortable talking in the presence of people who are brought closer and closer.
Physically closer.
Physically closer.
So the teacher starts off, so we presume the child is in the kitchen talking to mother, as normal as can be.
It could be a teacher, it could be another adult.
Yeah, we're not sneaking up. I think the child knows the teacher's in the house.
Yes.
So as the child is interacting then socially and communicating with the mother, the teacher gradually moves closer.
Yes, that would be one possible procedure, but it may not always be the teacher. It could be another adult with whom the child will not speak. It could be the child's peers in the classroom situation as well.
We use that fade-in procedure at the school setting with the teachers and the classmates as well, and that was what worked for us.
On this program about selective mutism, we'll meet a third-grade teacher and her teacher who says they both had an amazing year. And we'll also talk with an 18-year-old who had this and now has a boyfriend. We should say that one of the biggest consequences of SM, selective mutism, is the child often winds up with no friends at all. Is that true?
Very
Yes.
true.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a social deprivation that goes with this.
Yeah. Minimal socialization, very, very difficult.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
It's me! Now here's a wrap that you should know. Made with Pillsbury crescent rolls. Just wrap a wiener filled with cheese and bake it up. It's sure to please. Nothing says loving like my crescent rolls.
Are you taking chances without a calcium supplement? It could take 20 years to find out. By then, it may be too late. Which one should you take? Oscal. Oscal's tested and proven effective in clinical studies, and doctor recommended for pennies more a day. Don't take chances. Take Oscal.
To some lenders, refinancing means just paying off your first mortgage.
At the money store, there are other options.
Credit cards, auto loans, and your mortgage. We often consolidate all of them to improve a homeowner's budget.
That's the money store difference. You not only lower the rate on your mortgage, but you also lower your total monthly payment. The money store refinance. One loan, one payment. Call the money store at 1-800-LOAN-YES. That's 1-800-LOAN-YES.
For accurate and immediate weather information, call the NBC 33 Weather Hotline at 420-TV33. One call provides all current local conditions, plus the most dependable 5-day forecast in Fort Wayne. 420-TV33 is an interactive weather station unmatched by any other local weather service. 420-TV33, the NBC 33 Weather Hotline, a service of Fort Wayne's first television station, NBC 33.
Billy Packer here, asking your friends and neighbors why they came to Mr. Cash.
Credit card bills were nearly eating me alive. I thought there was no way to send my son to college. Mr. Cash made me a loan, even showed me how I might take it off my taxes.
I work hard, and sometimes cash gets short at the end of the month. But with the home loan that I got from Mr. Cash, I got all my late bills paid up. They even lowered my monthly payments.
If you're a homeowner and need money for just about any reason, call Mr. Cash now, 1-800-444-CASH.
Marilyn Haynes, you teach third grade.
Yes, I do. I teach third grade.
Well,
and
what an interesting job this is.
Right.
You're at Waverly Elementary School in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania.
Yes, I am.
We should say, Miss Haynes, you're what we're looking for in teachers. You really didn't know anything about this, I assume.
No, and I have to admit that I wasn't the first choice. I wasn't, they had some questions about putting Emily in my room.
Because why? Because
well, I think they were looking for someone who might be considered quiet, you know, nurturing, more. I'd love to, you know, have all those qualities too, and I hope I have them. But I think they might have looked at me and said, well, this is a very demanding, a very outgoing, very challenging teacher, and they were concerned that Emily would regress in my classroom.
Yes, and that you would overwhelm her and cause her to shell up just a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's very honest of you to share with us that anxiety, and you understand it, don't you, on the part of the parents?
I do, and I think it was interesting because Amy's mom came to see me this summer before Emily came to my classroom. And
Emily Broadbent is the person about whom we speak.
Right.
Emily is now 9, and she's in the audience with her mom. So you went to see, teach her.
I sure did.
What else? What else should a responsible mother do?
Well,
and you tried to explain to her?
she's a very outgoing, a very vivacious teacher, and I was a little concerned that it might be too much for Emily.
Right. Tell us what happened. Now, just give us, and I'm sorry we don't have a longer show. This is very, very important what you want to share with us.
Right. Well, when she came, it was interesting because in the conversation I had found out that I had taught Amy's sisters. And so when it found out in the family that she had a possibility of having Mrs. Haynes, Grandma, who thought I was the greatest thing in the world, said, oh my goodness, I love her. So now you have the mother getting the advice from the teacher. Now, I don't know about this teacher, and the grandma saying, oh, this is the teacher. She'll just be great for our grandchild. So she came in kind of, I think, to check me out. And I think the neat thing was that I listened to her story, and I said, this is my program. There's a lot of speaking in my classroom. There's a lot of role playing. We have parents in all of the time. There's a lot of coming up to the podium, and that's my program. And I really thought that she was going to pull her child out at that time. I didn't think she'd keep Emily in my class.
And she did.
And she did.
Kindly describe for us, Emily, when you first observed her in your class.
Well, I knew when she came in the door that that was Emily, because you could tell by the body language. I mean, this is the child who, when I think of education, I think of like this balloon popping. But when I see Emily, I think of this little balloon, like you almost suck it in, you know, the shoulders were curved, the eyes were downcast, and I knew that was Emily. But things progressed real quickly in the classroom, and that's because, Phil, Emily had come into our school district as a kindergartner. So there had been a lot of work done with this child before she came into my classroom. So it was a real success story. We have a wonderful school district. The whole team, we had a big team approach. We had the school psychologist. Everybody was involved.
We need to know, how did you, when was the first time she spoke? What was the first time you asked her to speak and she didn't? How long after she came into your tutelage did she speak? And what was the circumstances of that speech? How in the world did you do this, wizard?
Well,
you have our admiration.
Well, I decided right from the start that my approach was going to be, you don't give anybody a crutch that doesn't need it. So I went in with the attitude that Emily was going to do what everybody else did, and it worked. When we read the first time, Emily read. Now, granted, there was a lot of wait time. And, you know, I'm the kind of person that goes, you know, and it was long, but I set it out, and I waited. And at first, it was a very tiny voice, and each time it got louder. And I remember by the time we did our Columbus presentation, Mom was real nervous. You know, everybody had to speak. That's the way it is. If there's a presentation, everybody speaks.
Columbus, so this would be all the kids on a stage or something?
Yeah, the parent in the classroom. And I remember Amy came in, goes, oh, how's she going to do? I said, she's going to do fine. Just pull it. And she did. And from there, it just kind of snowballed. And it's really been a wonderful year. She did a wonderful thing at our presidential report, and we used a microphone there for all the kids. We had fun with the mic, but I thought this was a good opportunity to sneak a mic in to see if we could get that tone up.
What would you... hooray for this. It worked.
Very good.
But I have a sense that it wouldn't work with your children.
Our kindergarten teacher was a very quiet and subdued type of teacher, and Amanda didn't speak in kindergarten. Her first grade teacher was very loud and vivacious and energetic, and Amanda took to her and spoke right away. They must need maybe that type of personality.
This is the type of personality, I think, that's best for these children, because someone like this is probably very assertive, right?
Very.
Yeah.
No, but you can't.
And
you can't say speak.
No.
Speak.
No, but this is the...
Speak. I'd run out of the classroom.
Okay, this is...
and I make my living speaking.
Well, look, I had selective mutism also as a child, not to the degree of my children, but I have an understanding of the way that it feels. And I will tell you, my opinion is that when you have someone who is consistent and assertive and kind of at it all day long, every day, number one, these children know exactly what to expect and what's expected of them. The other thing is, I think, is really the key, it's very important, is that with someone like this, they learn how to get over or cope or deal with anxiety rather than avoid it.
How long would you have to wait for her to speak?
Initially, it seemed like hours.
Well, for example, I assume you would ask her, you'd ask her to read a passage.
Right.
And then how, from the time you asked her to read, just a sense of it. I mean,
and maybe a minute. And it was low, and it was step by step, and it was almost...
A minute is a long time.
In a classroom with 20-some other kids, like, you know, it's a long time.
So but you were determined to be patient a lot?
Oh, yeah, I was, and the kids knew because Emily had been in, and she got better each time, and she knew she was going to read. You know, it wasn't going to be like I was going to say, it's okay. And I think it's important to note also that sometimes we need role models that are aggressive and outgoing, because we all tend to be enablers, though. We want them to be, you know, oh, we don't want somebody to put too much pressure, so we start answering for them. And, you know, Emily wants to be a teacher. She's got to talk. She's going to be a teacher.
I guess this is how dumb I am. I would guess the best approach is to treat them like glass and not to force.
A lot of people do that.
Then they stay that way.
Exactly.
And we'll be back in just a minute.
If you're between the ages of 50 and 79, please listen to this short message about life insurance. When it comes to getting life insurance, there's a lot of competition out there. Buyer beware. One policy offers a lot of coverage, but the catch is it only pays if you die in an accident. One offers guaranteed acceptance for everyone. But the catch is you can wait 2 years before you're fully covered. Another offers good rates, but the catch is your benefits go down. And one offers perfectly good coverage, but the catch is you must be a veteran to apply. That's the competition. We're Providian, and we believe our life insurance policy called Steady Term is better than the rest. Why? Because your family is protected if you die in an accident or of natural causes. Plus, your coverage starts on the very first day with no waiting period. And with Steady Term, your benefits are guaranteed never to go down, and anyone age 50 to 79 is eligible to apply. And finally, with Steady Term, you pay just $1 a week. That's right, just $1 a week. If this sounds like a fair deal to you, just call this toll-free number now. We'll send you free information about Steady Term, our $1-a-week term life plan. There is no risk, no obligation, and no salesman will visit. Call now and protect those you love. There are no catches to Steady Term, Providian's $1-a-week life plan. See for yourself. Call now.
Call 1-800-847-1700 for free information on Steady Term offer. Everyone age 50 to 79 is eligible to apply for this affordable coverage from Providian Life and Health Insurance Company. That number again is 1-800-847-1700. There's absolutely no cost or obligation to find out more about this $1 a week Steady Term life insurance. That's 1-800-847-1700. Call now.
In my next life, my name's going to be Lilac. You are Catherine Lilac, and your daughter Carrie is with us. Carrie, you're 18. We're so glad you're here because, listen, a lot of folks hate to talk on my show. I ought to know. But you're 18, and you are just kind of coming out of selective mutism. Tell us about this, Mom. Similar story here. You've seen this movie, haven't you? You've heard these parents speak. Same with you?
Yes, I see a lot of similarities. One great difference, though, is she still doesn't talk in school.
She still does not?
Not, yes.
And you have to explain to me how you kept from becoming really exasperated.
Well, it takes a lot of patience and a lot of love, encouragement. And
but you have to get smart about what was happening in this.
Oh, yeah. We got very smart very quick.
How much was out there whenever this, what was 15 years ago you began?
We never heard of it before until she was diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And what we did for her is not treat her as if she was different in any way. Home environment, she was very active, as they all said, very outgoing, until a stranger walked in the house, or mostly an adult, or if she was outside around other people.
And how about socially, other girl, as she, other friends as she was growing?
Well, actually, she's had quite a few friends, but her problem, too, is created from the school was that they used to speak for her. She would be asked a question, and her friends would answer.
Mm-hmm. Fill the vacuum, fill the vacuum.
Yeah.
And everybody does it well-intentioned.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm sorry?
Uncomfortable silence when someone asks your child something and it's just total silence.
You're telling a talk show host how uncomfortable. I have been known to ask an 8-minute question and the guest has said, no. Carrie, you do not talk to teachers.
Nope.
Well, we're counting on you here. Before it's over, we'll figure out a way.
Her father's a teacher.
Oh.
Well, she talks to him.
Carrie, thanks. No kidding. We're laughing because, we first of all, it is kind of humorous, although it's not a picnic, I know, when you're living this. And we certainly respect you for stepping forward here. This can't be a picnic for you. There was an incident in kindergarten you remember. Do I understand this, Carrie? May I ask you to just briefly share with us what happened in kindergarten with the teacher?
Well, I was in kindergarten and, I don't know, I was just really shy, and then she would yell at me for talking, and then I stopped talking, and then I just, I don't know.
Never talked again.
was wondering, did you go to the kindergarten teacher? Did the kindergarten teacher know that this was a child who had a problem?
Probably not.
And
No.
maybe then she wouldn't have,
No idea.
I think
Yeah.
had the teacher known that this was an exceptionally shy child, and, you know, I can't imagine, a teacher probably would have said hip, hip, hooray. You know?
Well, actually, we didn't know what it was then.
But she was shy. And that information, she had to be painfully shy. That information, I think, not to shit on somebody. I hate when people do that to me, but it would have been so beneficial. See, the thing that was so successful in our case was the fact that Amy was in from day one. That parent was involved from day one. And look what we have.
Right, but we're talking to the Wright brothers here. We didn't know what was going on 15 years ago.
I know, but they knew your child is shy, Phil. You have, no matter what it is. I mean, if your child has a bathroom problem, you have to share that information.
Let me say that in 1985, I was very pleased to be the face on a series on NBC called The Human Animal. And we talked to all these eggheads at universities, you know, kids and nature, nurture, what is it? And a man from Harvard, a very respected guy, you know, very conservative, he's not going to go popping off. He said, I will give you this. There are a certain percentage of children who are born shy. But we should not be distracted by this, because is it not so that this is different than shyness, isn't it?
I think it is, Phil. It is different than shyness, but shyness can be a part of it. I think that can be a part of it. Now,
let me give you a chance to expand on your point when we come back in just a moment.
Amnesia took their memories, robbed them of their simplest skills.
Could happen to anybody.
The horror of amnesia, next Donahue.
Before the satin comes the silk. Before the cashmere or denim, the silk. The silky skin that comes with Caress Moisturizing Body Wash. It not only cleanses, it has essential moisturizers to nourish your skin every day. Nothing leaves you silkier. So before the linen or lace comes the silk. Before you dress, caress with Caress Moisturizing Body Wash.
This is Meg, always on the move. But she knows exactly where she's going and what's going with her. So isn't it great she takes Kellogg's Nutri-Grain bars? They are easy to pack, but it's the taste of sweet filling and soft crust she really loves. And since they're made with real fruit, Mom doesn't stand in her way, which is good, because this girl's really going places.
Kellogg's Nutri-Grain bars, the good snack kids get into.
Well, Barb, tell me, what's your favorite thing about Little Professor?
Well, my favorite thing, I think, after working right down the road at the Heart Center about Little Professor is that you've always worked so well with us as far as promoting a lot of heart-healthy information for the community. The Heart Center cookbooks over the last 3 years, you've been so supportive in promoting those things and letting us come down here and bring authors in of heart-healthy books like Dean Ornish and some of those people.
We'll never forget that night. We couldn't believe it was happening to us. It was a nightmare. We realized there was a problem when John started stealing money. He was never home. And when he was, it was a war. Our lives didn't have to be that way.
When your family's in trouble, Charter is here, 24 hours a day, every day. If you don't get help at Charter, please get help somewhere.
Digital satellites, laser discs, home theater. This is where the future is. And it wasn't that long ago, before I graduated from ITT, I could only get the jobs you'd get just to get by. Sometimes it's hard to explain the technical side of what I do. So I just tell people I work for the top dogs.
Here's your 33 outdoor weather forecast. I'm weather specialist David Morin.
Tom Cradwell, Ph.D. You're our guy from Academ. We respect what you do. In fact, how grateful must these parents be to you? You wrote the first textbook, did you?
I did write a textbook in 1981 on this childhood disorder.
Okay. You were going to say, before we broke.
Yes. Phil, this is a disorder that...
We're talking about selective mutism. If you joined us late, Here are the beautiful, irreplaceable children of God right here in our front row. Very, very normal, very, very good looking. They're going to win a Nobel Prize, and they do not wish to speak, especially in school.
Phil, they may very well at some time win a Nobel Prize. We can hope for that. I think that there are some things we know about this disorder that we didn't know 15 years ago. As I mentioned earlier, I think, first of all, it is a phobic-related disorder. These children, for the most part, are afraid to speak to certain people or in certain situations. I think increasingly we know some things about why this disorder is manifest in young children. I heard someone say earlier that there are genetic or biological features of it. I think there's some growing evidence that temperament may be involved. Some of the children that we see in the literature, some of the children that I've seen in my work are shy. They tend to be reserved and naturally withdraw from social interactions and social engagement. So this is a part, possibly, of this disorder. We also know some ways to treat it. And I think we have had some really successful stories here today about parents who have had access to either wonderful teachers or professionals who knew something about it.
Right.
But most parents and teachers cannot be expected to know about this,
right,
which is why I think most families who have a concern about this, even a suspicion at a very early age, need to contact a psychologist, psychiatrist, or other mental health professional to find out about their child.
Right.
And that's a very important issue.
Like Ms. Hanos, Catherine, you insisted, didn't you? I mean, you were with your daughter. You insisted she speak at home.
Oh, yeah.
You would not tolerate silence.
I would not tolerate any gestures or body language, none whatsoever.
You couldn't just nod. You had to say yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was good manners, right? We say please, thank you.
And she would respond.
Oh, yeah. She was very normal at home.
She wasn't being...
Like the other children. At home, we never suspected that there was a problem at all.
And there's a psychiatrist in her young life, is that
Oh,
right?
yes.
How often?
We figure 4 or 5 years of heavy sessions.
Does that continue?
Not to this day, no.
So, did that help?
Oh, immensely.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
So, a Freudian sort of protocol here just might help us.
Yes, yes, indeed.
I'm also curious to know how, the child didn't speak in school. I mean, I think, I don't know the whole story, but there's so many things that you can do to get children to speak. Now, this is a child who's going to college. So look at how you could play into the academics. I know one of the things with Emily was that I make it perfectly clear that participation is a part of the grade. And if you don't participate, you get little cubes on your desk. Right. And Emily has never had a cube on her desk.
Yes, Mrs. Leachuk was going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say that with most of these children, it isn't just limited to school. There are problems with them speaking up in most environments, which makes it really difficult for parents, too. For instance, going to a restaurant. Most of them cannot order their food. Again, I devised my own behavioral plan, which I had implemented in the school, but I took it further. I also used it in all other areas. Mm-hmm. And for instance, when we would go to a restaurant, initially I would say to them, all you need to do is say the word, let's say, Coke. I'll order the rest. And this is the way you would treat phobias, I suppose.
So
baby
the
steps.
child would be expected to verbalize an interest in having a Coke.
Right, and I would order the rest, and then that would be gradual also. And of course now they're at the point where they can order a meal.
Coke, a Big Mac, and fries.
Right.
And that's a graduation, isn't it?
Carrie did the same
Big deal.
thing.
Yeah.
She did?
We would not order for her. We would let the long silence hang for a while so that she became embarrassed of her own silence. And I think that helped her to come about. So she would begin to order.
Many of these families here have a great deal of information and knowledge about selective mutism. Some have worked with school psychologists in their school district. Others have worked with other professionals. And what my experience has been is that many parents, many educators in our public schools do not know about this disorder.
I'm telling you.
And
you have to wonder how many kids have been physically hit because they wouldn't speak.
Well, we don't know of too many occasions
well, I'm not,
of
who's
that.
Who's going to report that?
Well, we don't know. There are a couple of things
I gotta think there are parents out there that are just impatient enough, ignorant, thinking the kid is being a smart aleck.
Well, but I've gotten phone calls, you know, from parents throughout the country who will say things such as a teacher has punished a child. In other words, there's going to be a class trip, let's say, and the teacher will say to this child, if you don't answer or if you don't say what you want, you can't go. And that does happen.
All the more reason to get information from a qualified mental health professional.
Which is certainly reason that you're here. You're on when we come back in just a moment.
The average funeral today now costs over $4,000. But the most Social Security will pay your survivors, if they qualify, is only $255, leaving your loved ones to pay the balance. That's why the Peace of Mind program was formed. It relieves families of the worry, cost, and confusion over funeral details.
It's good to know my family will be taken care of if anything happens to me.
I remember having to plan my dad's funeral. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
With the Peace of Mind program, there is no physical examination required. Your rates can never be increased, and you cannot be canceled. We pay cash to your beneficiary or the funeral home of your choice.
As a funeral director, I've seen what funerals can do to families, both emotionally and financially. That's why I recommend the Peace of Mind program.
This is the best thing I can do for those I'll leave behind.
When my husband passed away, if we didn't have the plan, I don't know where the money would have come from.
The Peace of Mind program not only helps with the decisions and costs of a funeral, but you're also given a free planning guide to help organize and carry out your wishes and help your loved ones when they need planning most.
I didn't have to worry about anything. Everything was taken care of.
I don't want my wife or my kids to have to go into their savings for me.
If you're between the ages of 50 and 80, call to get free information about the Peace of Mind program and its benefits. Don't put it off. For free information, call the toll-free number on your screen. Protect your family. Call now.
Call 1-800-648-1100 to get free information about the Peace of Mind program. You owe it to yourself and to those you love. Call 1-800-648-1100 now.
Sir, you wanted to ask, yes.
Yeah, I'm a high school teacher, and I teach a class of underachieving English students. And I do try to use a lot of the same methods you're using in terms of being very assertive about tasks. I also do try to find out things about these kids on the side so that I have something to give them a pat on the back for, if they're a good bowler, if they're a good fisher, whatever they are. But my question is directed to the gentleman next to you there. If, as a teacher, I have some students in this class, all the students are terrified to speak when it means going behind a podium. If I have some who have this ailment, and I have some students who are just trying not to speak because they think they can get away with it, how do I know the difference? What do I do?
Well, the issue you raise about problems in public speaking is really a very common thing among adults and children. In fact, many people who experience social phobia report that that's their #1 fear. So often a teacher, in addition to getting advice if it's a severe problem, can gradually expose individuals to speaking occasions. Start with very small segments of opportunities to speak, pair the youngsters up with each other in a comfortable environment to allow them to speak together, and lighten the mood in ways that makes it a very fun occasion. All of these things can be very helpful to all of us, or any of us in public situations.
Yes, I saw your hand, Doctor. Sir, you wanted to.
The question I wanted to ask was that when your daughter entered the kindergarten, was there a pre-screening there for that child so that the teachers could communicate and see whether or not there was a verbal problem? Because it seems like she wasn't aware of what was going on because she hadn't communicated with the child before.
Well, we didn't have a pre-screening. She had a pre-registration, but again, we never knew there was a problem. Matter of fact, we had to pull her out of kindergarten.
You have a boyfriend now, is that so, Carrie?
Yep.
It's none of our business. But it's not altogether unconnected. We can assume that failing to improve here is certainly going to cut down on your social life. Isn't that so? I mean, there is I don't mean necessarily boys and girls, but just friends. And may I have your commentary on that?
They become isolated. Yeah. And I think it's worse with twins.
Because they seem to have each other, and sometimes it's very difficult for them to make friends with others.
I used to invite Amanda's kindergarten students over, her little friends, to the house. So maybe she became comfortable with them and played with them. And at home, when she got to school, she would speak to them. But she spoke to them at our house, but not in school.
Phil, it's important to know under what conditions these children do not speak. Many of them will not speak in school because of certain things at school. A teacher, peers, or a general fear of academic evaluation. Others will not speak in the community. But in fact, our experience has been that some of these children do in fact have friends that they will interact with and will socialize with at home or in community settings.
So selective for some.
It is selective, as the name implies.
I think also that as they get older, the gap, the social gap, widens between these children and others. I don't know if you're talking about, a specific age group, but it seems to me that the older they get, the more difficult it is.
Well, sure. It's also been reinforced. The longer you've let that happen, it's been reinforced. So now this child has all that reinforcement that if I don't talk, it's going to go away. Yes. And then she also has all that baggage. Look at all the baggage. Like, I can't talk now because I haven't talked for 4 years, and these kids are going to now look at me if I talk.
The more you don't talk, the more you don't talk.
Exactly.
Maybe that's why Carrie isn't able to speak to the teacher. Is that why? Because it's been such a long time.
But she speaks to her friends in school.
But it makes it all the more important to know that Carrie has a social life, which is, in fact, this is not your first boyfriend, Carrie. Yeah. About how many boyfriends have you had?
12.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
They call them channels. I call it better protection. They're this smart idea and always with wings, and they're pretty amazing. Channels that form a barrier of protection at the edges, so even when I move, they help keep moisture in the center, so the sides get better protection, while the dry weave helps keep the surface drier. They call them channels. I call it just plain smart. It protects me better than any regular maxi I've tried. Always with channels. It's cleaner, it's drier, now it protects even better.
If it's time to do a little groundbreaking, don't go at it the old-fashioned way. Tear through it with a garden claw from Garden Weasel.
Just position it like this, and you'll be ready to cultivate, loosen, aerate, and weed.
The hardened steel tines rip through tough soil with just a twist of the comfort grip handles, even in heavy clay.
And it comes with a 100% lifetime guarantee.
So if you've got a tough job ahead of you, tear through it the easy way with the Garden Claw.
From Garden Weasel.
The Garden Claw is available at participating True Value, Ace, HWI, and Service Star. Makes a great gift.
You're looking at a better way to buy oak furniture. Everything on display, out of the box, and fully assembled. That's the Oak Express way. Examine for yourself the high quality of each and every piece we sell. Choose the exact item you want and take it with you. No surprises. Just top quality oak for the home and office at near wholesale prices. Oak Express, 430 Coliseum West, just west of the Glenbrook Mall in Fort Wayne.
Everyone knows people hurt in accidents have rights, so why even get a lawyer involved?
Well, having rights is one thing. Knowing how to put them to use is quite another. Trial lawyers make sure you get all the benefits you have coming.
So I shouldn't just assume I'll be paid what my claim is really worth?
Not in the real world. Look, if an accident is causing you problems, call the problem solvers.
The Lebemoff Law Offices, making the law work for you every day. Call 423-2581.
For a transcript of Donahue, send $3 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203, or call 303-831-9000. To order a video cassette for only $24.95, just call 1-800-FOR-VIDEO.
Don't want to make a big thing of your social life, Carrie. We should also say, incidentally, you are 18s, and you're very important. Make a contribution to our program. Oh, sorry, the address, very important. Selective Mutism Foundation. This is very, very important. Those of you who wonder, holy cow, is this my family? Have we got one like this? I want to know more. Post Office Box 13133, Sissonville, West Virginia. Boy, I tell you, the Donahue Show is hot in Sissonville. 25360. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope. We're going to need 2 stamps, I am told, because there's a lot of information coming your way. If you care about this issue, you're doing very well in school. So?
Yeah.
Last report card?
Tell him. It was good.
It was good.
It was good. Right. I know.
I'd like it to be known.
I know who this is, too. You want to stand up for a second?
Hi, John.
This is number 12 right here. What are you doing to me? Just when I start wearing my ball cap backwards, you put it on the side now. I'll never keep up with you folks. Yes, ma'am, you wanted to add.
I'm just curious, the parents of twins, did you separate them in class? Or did they get...
Mine were always separated.
Yes, they did. That's a good question. Yes, yes.
I'm a teacher, and just in defense of teachers, you know, I do think that they're caring people, and they
We're not making fun
I know
of them.
that, I know that.
Don't be so sensitive.
I know. No.
God, you're like the cops. You know, you mention their name, and holy cow, they're wounded.
I wondered, what about their writing skills? Do they tend to be affected?
Is there any other expression
The writing and Emily's writing is fabulous, and she uses all kinds of great adjectives, you know.
Is there a pharmacy remedy for this, doctor, we would ask you?
At this point, I would say no. There is no strong evidence that medication is successful in treating selective mutism. There are some researchers around the country that have begun to investigate medication for these children. One such medication that is under investigation is Prozac. At this point, there is no compelling evidence that I have seen that would argue for medication as a sole treatment for this childhood disorder. It may be indicated under some conditions when used with other therapies.
When was Carrie first diagnosed?
Mom?
About 3rd grade.
Hi, I'm a teacher as well. Has alternative schooling been tried for any of these kids?
Parents will sometimes place their children in alternative schools in the hope that the alternative school environment will help them to speak better and be more comfortable. That may not always be the case.
And who wants, everybody wants their children mainstream.
Yeah, right. There's no
You know, and
for that.
you don't want, yeah.
I think it's a mistake.
You don't want them.
Alternative school. I think the teacher has to be educated.
And I agree with you, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Amnesia took their memories, robbed them of their simplest skills.
Could happen to anybody.
The horror of amnesia, next Donahue.
It can be a kind of maybe a scary or a different thing to talk about when you're arranging your own funeral. Talk to some friends, and some friends will say, what? I think the presentation that Trust 100 gave me was the kind of a thing that opened my eyes, opened my ears, didn't give me any panic because I was in control. And I think the peace of mind, really, that we experience now has really been a huge weight off our shoulders. It really feels good.
If you've been injured in an accident, whether it be in a car or motorcycle, in a fall, because of a doctor or hospital, on the job, or even at play, you may be entitled to a large cash award. To find out, call 1-800-INJURED now. The call is free, the advice is free, and at Balkan & Doran, we take your injuries personally. Call us now at 1-800-INJURED.
Call Balkan & Doran at 1-800-INJURED.
When you make a donation to Relay for Life, you are joining a winning team. Brought to you by these fine sponsors, Relay for Life is a 24-hour event that will be held at Northside High School on May 31st and June 1st. During the event, teams of walkers and runners will hit the track to raise money for the American Cancer Society. For more information or to make a donation, call 471-3911. When you give to Relay for Life, you give hope and support in the fight against cancer.
Allen County Motors is the largest Ford dealership in northern Indiana. Nobody beats our service, selection, or price. 96 Thunderbirds with dual electric mirrors, airbags, power windows and locks, AM/FM stereo cassettes from $16,995 or $299 a month. 96 Ford Mustangs, dual airbags, air, AM/FM stereo cassettes from $289 a month. The all-new 97 Escort is here at Allen County Motors. 2-liter engine, dual airbags, and more from $249 a month. Remember, if you don't have our price, you'll pay too much. $100 guarantees it.
First Finance, one of America's foremost mortgage lenders, announces a revolutionary breakthrough. Mortgage by mail. One call to First Finance and your complete mortgage package will be sent directly to your home. Even if you've been turned down or approved somewhere else, First Finance will beat their rate guaranteed in writing. You get it all from your phone to your home within 24 hours. Call 1-800-647.
MoneyGram, the better way to wire money.